Morning, guys. Basically, coming off last week's win versus Western, we have a great opportunity in front of us. Game day will be here. It's everything that you think about when you want to come to play at a place like this, and very exciting for all Spartan fans and Spartan Nation in general. 27-3 right now in our last 30 games. It's Michigan State, so we're looking forward to this opportunity. Clinton Jones, 19-1-1 in his time here. Second pick overall in the draft, the NFL draft, national championship, Big Ten championships. So we're very, very excited about him being inducted into the College Hall of Fame, and then also having his name put up on a Ring of Honor in the stadium. So this will be a special time for him. Big football games have occurred here in the past. I guess this is one of the biggest ones in terms of nationally ranked teams, I guess, but more importantly for us, we played in big games. Looking forward to the opportunity. I'll take questions.
Mark, you have discussed wanting to get reps for a backup quarterback, and Damian was the one that got him and not Tyler. I'm curious, is that a reflection of a change, or is that just more of a schematic getting him in a certain package?
That was a schematic thing relative to the package. Both those guys have performed well in practice. It's pretty much week to week who would be the number 2 guy probably. Been very impressed with Tyler O'Connor's play throughout summer camp, and I would say coming into this past game he might have been number 2 in that respect, but Damian also does some very special things. We wanted to get him involved in the package.
Coach,
Yeah.
it seems kind of like a battle of the two powers. Your run defense held Western 23 rushes, 18 yards. Oregon rushed for nearly 500 yards this past week. Can you talk about that matchup?
Yeah, Oregon does a lot of good things. They're going to pass it in, run it. They're going to create a lot of problems systematically with formations and motions and things of that nature. I think Adams is a guy that can take a bad play certainly and make it a good one. So some of those rush yards come off of scrambles and things of that nature, much like they did with Mariota. If you look at our game last year, the X factor in that game was Marcus Mariota. He made things happen. I mean, they got great players that surround him, but he made things happen in terms of getting out of sack situations and those type of things from a defensive standpoint, our defense. We got to line up and play. There's runs, there's passes, there's all these different adjustments, but they create a lot of different problems. They're an excellent football team, extremely well coached. I would say cutting edge in terms of what they do offensively. There's the whole component of having to get lined up and play within 15 seconds or so or less. So there's that combination of things, and they have the different speeds just like everybody else. But I think it's helped that we've played them last year. I think it's helped us also that we've played teams like Baylor and Indiana and other teams that are fast tempo as well. And so everybody's doing it in college football right now, so we should be used to that. But there still is that conditioning aspect of it and that aspect of being able to get lined up, play with your knees bent, focused, change personnel, subs and things of that nature, and it's a challenge.
Mark, Darren and RJ mentioned yesterday the Baylor prep going to the bowl game and how you guys are going to switch that up. Is that going to be the plan this week then? Is that sort of your prep that you're going to do anytime you play a tempo team like this?
Well, we live and learn. I guess that's the best way to put it. We live and learn, and we're always going to critique what we do and try and make it better. And, we had the opportunity to play Oregon last year. We did some things coming into that. We played into that situation by playing some other teams like Indiana and these other teams that we played in our conference, Northwestern and things of that nature that do the same type of thing. So we had that advantage coming to the Oregon game. We had that advantage and that opportunity and experience to go to the Baylor game. And now, so it's just, we're systematically trying to get better at what we do in every aspect of our program, and that's one of them. So we'll practice and try and be cutting edge in terms of how we practice, in terms of what we're trying to do. And I think we did that in the Baylor game. Still needed to play better, obviously, defensively, but we came out on the back end and did okay. So that's what we'll try and do. We'll try and improve what we've done, but we use a lot of the different components of doing that, of the way we practice. Thanks.
Coach, a two-part question here. One, Vernon Adams, do you see the similarities to Russell Wilson? And two, you mentioned Oregon being cutting edge. What is it about Oregon that made them so cutting edge? There are other teams that do what the Ducks do, but no one has done it with the success and consistency they have.
Yeah. First question. I do see the similarities between Vernon and Russell Wilson to some extent. And but we haven't played him yet, and we've got one game on him. So, other than watching him when he was at Eastern Washington and things of that nature, so you see some of that, but we'll have to see when we play him. I mean, Russell Wilson was outstanding; has had an outstanding career, obviously. Second question, in terms of what makes Oregon cutting edge, I think that they're always looking to critique their program. Number one. They have surrounded their program with great players. They have a great running back in Freeman, additional running backs. They have great skill players. So they're taking the skill level within that program, a very high skill level, and then they're doing things that everybody else is doing. And I think they may be the leader in doing those things. And I've seen switch routes before where they go like this. I've never seen a switch route where they've gone like that, and I can't flip my arms the other way and then gone like that again. Okay, so I've never seen that. So that's just one aspect of it. It was in a 2-minute situation, but you saw it, and it was unusual.
Mark, you mentioned Marcus Mariota being an X factor the last time you guys played. Where does Connor fit into that in this game in terms of his ability to be an X factor for you guys against Oregon, and kind of talk about what he's done in big games for you guys now that he's a senior?
Well, he is an X factor. I mean, I think as he goes, we go. That's the nature of the quarterback position. He has the ability to throw it. There's no question about that. He has the ability to run it. And, he's got to get out there and do that sometimes. Big games like this, I think you take advantage of both ends of that spectrum. But, it's his decision-making, it's his arm strength, it's his calls at the line of scrimmage, it's his leadership value in the huddle, those type of things. All those things come to, become higher thoughts, become very paramount, I think, in everything that he's trying to do this week. So that's every quarterback is the X factor guy, I think, for their football team. And then as far as when you look at him, and I saw a stat out there that we're 4-1 versus top 5 football teams right now in the ones that we've played, and I think he's been a part of 4 of those games. So he's been in big games, and he's come out and has been the MVP in some of those big games, and he's had big games himself in all of those games. So I think that there's an added significance to that he has performed very well in those situations. So we're looking for a great game.
Mark, a few of the players have talked about looking to the Oregon-Ohio State game specifically when they're working in the off-season, winter and summer, and those are the things they keep in their mind when they drive, when they want to push a little bit further. I guess, how have you seen those type of things motivate this team, and how do they, a veteran team, do they still have that balance of not getting too worked up or letting it get out of hand before the game anyway? Yeah,
there's a fine line in preparation, but I don't think you get ready on Friday night or Saturday morning. I think you have to build your momentum throughout the week, and then so that at kickoff you're ready to go. So as far as I think our players know the score, I said opening up the press conference that we've lost 3 games out of the last 30. And we know the teams we've lost to. And, our MO was to try and reach higher. And to do that, right now it runs through Oregon. I also think that if you look at last year's football team, if we win that football game, you're talking beyond. You're talking, and you just keep trying to move your program forward and reach a little bit higher. So that's what we'll try and do, and I think we'll be very motivated for the game, as will they, because this is a stepping stone game. It's not a conference game, but it's a big national game. I think we all understand that. That's why game day's here. That's why people talk about it. It's a big game, and it has ramifications that go beyond this game later on down the line.
Coach, just wanted to clarify. You compared Adams to Russell Wilson, not Mariota. What makes him Russell Wilson like?
I think it's his running ability is a little different. Mariota's great running ability, but he's a different type of runner. It's a little bit more quick-bodied. I mean, Mariota's tremendous with the ball, riding different handoffs and faking things. I think Adams is as well, but Mariota, long strider, speed guy, make you miss. What I saw Russell Wilson do was improvise very effectively when he played us, and you see him do that on a weekly basis, really. And I think that's what you see Adams do. He can improvise. He's a little bit more. His stature is more like Russell Wilson's. His quick body, powerful, looks powerful.
When you reimagine your offense a little bit in the past couple of years to start producing more points and be a top 10 offense, was Oregon a team that you studied and looked at for some of the things they did?
We always look at the things that are being done against us and things being done across the country, and just critique it just like we do anything else, and try and use our players and say, well, this guy can do this guy can do that. And so we've tried to just sort of, just move forward.
Is there anything in particular you picked up from them in particular?
I can't, I wouldn't want to say right now what it is, but there are certain things that we've done that simulate what they do. I think you'd have to look internally.
Mark, what do you remember about the last time Oregon was here with Amp getting a scoop and score after what had happened to him the year before?
Yeah, I remember going into that football game, all summer long, that we took it very slow with Amp, and he really wasn't tackling until probably 2 weeks earlier. He had been out the entire time, and he was elected captain for the second time, two-time captain, and he was very excited about playing. It was a night game, and I think they were on our 22-yard line. Was it 2nd and 8? I think it was. Okay, but and he scoop and score. But it was a great moment for him individually and for this program, and it was a little bit sort of a coming home party. Very exciting.
Mark.
They had a good football team back then too.
R.J. Williamson against Oregon last year had a rough outing, some breakdowns in the back, and obviously to the Cotton Bowl where he has the interception. And now, what have you seen from him, some of the evolution of his game from that point, and what does he still need to do?
Well, Oregon presents a lot of problems for you. And, there's different defenses that you play relative to the call that comes in, obviously. And, so much of it is alignment. And, he was misaligned on one play, and this is a game of inches, and he was that far away from making the play, and he didn't make it. So a lot of that is experience. A lot of that is getting lined up at a fast pace, rapid pace, and making sure that you're on track in terms of knowing exactly what you're doing, exactly at the right time, so that you're in a position to make the play. He would have made the play had he lined up correctly on the one, and that's the one That's really the only one I can really think of right now. But things happen out there. It's a fast game, and when you're out there and you're under the lights, it's like that. It's a very fast game, and people are moving quickly, and a lot of quick adjustments have to be made. So he's done a tremendous job for us. He knows our defense inside out. Just got to line up and play. But there are adjustments relative to the defense that's called. They caught us in the zone pressure. He was the middle of the field safety, lined up outside the hash, couldn't make it.
Mark, I have two one-part questions. I don't want to confuse you.
Good, one at a time.
Number one, you talk about the speed of Oregon. There was a time when that was somewhat unique, but isn't that how college football has changed? Or you watched Ohio State last night. That wasn't very smash mouth. Yeah. Is that how you've changed your approach? Or to keep up with the Joneses anymore, you got to play fast and be prepared to play fast.
Yeah, you got to play fast, but everything goes in cycles. So, playing a two-back set against a team that doesn't have a two-back set becomes a little bit unique. How you stop that, being able to simulate that when you don't have those type of players sometimes, it becomes a little bit unique. So it's always, everything's always going full cycle, but you're exactly right. You need to have the element of wide receivers running sweeps, which we do, they do, everybody does. Getting the ball in your playmakers' hands. And I just always keep talking about, you can't always think about plays. You have to think about players. And you have to constantly try and figure out a way to get the ball to your players. I think Oregon does a tremendous job at that. It's a 2-minute situation. They're going to run the ball. You better be ready to run for them to run the football in a 2-minute situation because they're going to line up with 14 seconds to go and run a simple zone play. But they get the ball in Royce Freeman's hands, and he can make a 20-yard gain like that. So, I think it's all these things are generalities that you speak about relative to college football right now. But I think you're right. There's a lot of different sets, a lot of different things going on. Single wing type football. More people in the gun than under the center, certainly. Riding fakes and misdirections, all the different things. Bubbles, all the different things. Slants, diagonal slants, it's all there. So,
The other thing is that the buzz we all feel on a big game day, how much do the coaches feel that? We know you don't tailgate. You probably don't watch game day.
Yeah, don't tailgate. So, you'll see me out. You won't see me out there this week.
So, are coaches so tunnel
bring the chips.
Yeah. Are coaches so tunnel visioned? How do you feel the buzz that's different than any other game on a game like this?
Well, I think every football game there's a lot of pressure on coaches to get prepared, and they don't want to waste any time. So they sort of immerse themselves in that bubble, and I think that's coaching. That's college coaching or coaching at any level, really. So, but I think coaches understand big games. They're just as nervous for any. I was just as nervous last week as I am for this week. I mean, there's no difference. So, and I would say it's probably been the same as an assistant coach too. So it's just the nature of it. I think we all understand though that when you play in a championship game or you're playing in, a game that is for the conference championship or a big game that's leading to it or a big out-of-conference game, there's a little bit more to it, a little bit more preparation, a little bit more studies, off-season studies and things of that nature, and you hope to do your best. And I think the biggest thing that I've always asked of our players and our coaches is do your very best. And I can handle that. Do your very best and do it with confidence. And that's how we've always approached it.
Mark, over to your left here. When people talk about Oregon, certainly they do talk about the offense, but your guys' offense, I think, 9 straight games of 30-plus points, and certainly that is part of the evolution, reach higher, and everything else. Do you feel like you lost some key offensive skill guys? Do you feel like you have the weapons still this year to match up with an offense like Oregon?
Yeah, I think we do. I do. There's always new guys coming. There's always somebody who doesn't have a name yet that 9 weeks from now is going to be a big time player, and that's the nature of it. And we've got young players and we've got guys who have been waiting their time. So I do think we have those type of players in the program. If you look across the board, I think our tailback situation is extremely healthy right now. I think our wide receiver situation is strong and getting stronger, and our tight end situation is extremely strong. And I think our quarterback situation may be as good as there is in the country, to be honest with you. Got one guy that has certainly won a lot of football game and is at the height, playing at the height of his game in the country, and I think we have 2 other guys that are extremely good football players.
So just a follow-up to that, the theory is you don't want to get into a shootout with a team like Oregon. It sounds like you guys aren't afraid of getting in a shootout with anybody.
Well, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, So the bottom line at the end of the game is do you win or do you lose? So whether we win 10-9 or whether we win 40-39 really makes no difference. I mean, they're all going to count one. Pretty much like I said last weekend, but you got to play. That's why it's a team game. We can't just put our defense out there and say, okay, they won and the offense lost, and that's why we've always tried to collectively say together, what are we going to do? We got to offset each other. Special teams we have to play better than we did last week on the kickoff, for example. That's a must. So there'd be a lot of time spent in that area.
Mark, the Nebraska-BYU game came down to a Hail Mary play at the end. You guys had the one against Wisconsin a few years ago. How often do you guys practice for that sort of scenario, and is it really
every week?
Yeah.
Most like everybody, every week there's a period where you're going to review what you do, how you do it, and I think most people do that.
Do most teams run similar types of plays on those situations, or are there subtle differences between?
I think there's subtle differences, but on the last play of the game, I think they're going to get it. There's always going to be a tip guy and then a trail guy and those type of things. And, you're going to go up, throw it up there and hope for the best.
Mark in the back, big weekend planned for you guys. Obviously, the striping of the stadium for the first time, 200-plus recruits from football and basketball and other sports. Can home field advantage, I know Autzen last year for them was kind of a big deal. Can it play a certain, or do you not plan for that as much?
No, we need to. There's a definite home field advantage in Spartan Stadium. We need people to come and do their thing, because it is loud. I mean, Spartan Stadium. I got to the stadium last year out there, and it's a loud stadium. But as the game progressed and as it started, my reaction was, this is no louder than Spartan Stadium. I mean, at Spartan Stadium, I'm from me to you. You can't. I can be screaming at you, and you can't hear me. So it's loud. It's extremely loud down there, and those are great opportunities to affect a no-huddle offense.
Mark, kind of along those lines, you mentioned these top 5 games that you've played and how you've done in them. What does it mean to just be able to play one here in front of this fan base?
I think it's exciting. It's exciting for everybody, and you hope to have more. So if we win, we'll have more top 5 games because we'll be one of them. But I just think it's exciting. It's just something that I saw out there that we've played well in big games, and those are the expectations. There are no givens. It's a great challenge for us. They're come ready to play, but I think it's an exciting opportunity for us.
Mark, Darian talked yesterday about the play, or he came on the blitz, had the kind of play that kind of flipped the game. So that was kind of a big motivator for him through the offseason. What have you seen from him in terms of trying to drop weight, become more of a mobile player, and just a better player this year?
You're talking about Darian?
Darian Harris.
I think that Darian is in his 5th year. He's been elected captain. With that comes an added responsibility in terms of how you play and perform on the field as well. So he's got tremendous speed. We've clocked him under 4.5, and he needs to play like a 4.5 player. So sometimes you're trying to do everything right, and it slows you down a little bit. You got to be a reactionary player out there, especially at the star linebacker position, and the skills positions and the perimeter positions. You got to react. So I think he's right on the money. In terms of what he's got to do. He understands what he has to do. These are opportunities. And these are things he'll talk about to his children at some point in time. Games like this, opportunities like this, that's what this is about. That's exciting for people. I remember when.
Mark, on the depth chart real quick, I know you talked about Reschke and Fry the other night a little bit, but Reschke's the starter now. I guess just talk a little bit about the how he's been able to do that in a relatively short amount of time, moving from middle over to the outside.
Yeah, John played there in the past. John Reschke has played there in the past, so there wasn't before last year he was alternating at both, and then he went down with his shoulder. So, and he's been in that linebacker room now. This is his 3rd year, so he's from a great program in Brother Rice. Chris Fry's done a nice job as well, and they're really, you can flip him in there and flip him out, but he's got the ability to play Mike linebacker and our money linebacker. So he's been able to do it based on reps, and he's making plays. He's active in the box, and he can run and do the things he needs to do.
Mark, you mentioned winning games by scoring 10 points or winning them by scoring 40 points. How long have you guys had the luxury of being able to fall back on that, where you felt comfortable in either one of those type of games?
How long have we had the luxury?
How long have you felt comfortable playing in either one of those types of games?
I would probably say we have felt like that probably since mid-season of 13, that we could outscore people, and we struggled a little bit early 13. Obviously, you guys know that, but since then I think that we've had enough firepower to be able to do those type of things, and defensively we've been pretty solid, but we've had our moments. It goes back and forth. Like I said, we've had our moments, but the Baylor game we won.
Mark, some of your former players at Columbus talked about having a special practice period dedicated to a big opponent all year long. Have you done anything special like that with Oregon long before you started this week's preparation?
No, because we've I guess yes and no. I guess because some of the things that we do see from them we see from other people, so there is that. But but we haven't said this is Oregon. This is an Oregon period, not until this week. I think there were other things that were more pressing. Number one, win the first game.
Mark, with your safety depth now decreased, is Kari Willis a guy who might get on the field for the defense this week?
Yeah, we've lost a couple players for whatever reason, and we've Kari Willis possibly. Josh Butler has been impressive. So we have to make decisions on our redshirted players, David Dow, Grayson Miller. Those four guys really come to my mind in terms of, do we make decisions to play them now or do we wait? I just don't want to play a guy and then not play him fully on all special teams, or it's not so much as you're going to play on defense, but they got to be active in all those special teams. So it's that's a tough call, but we may need to make that call and make decisions. But we need to make sure when we make that decision. But we're thinking about it.
Coach, I know you probably won't get into too much detail on this question, but after the game you said that you thought maybe some of the defensive play calls were somewhat conservative. Can you just talk about the operations? That's kind of a difference now with Harlan calling the plays. What was that like, if you could give us some generalities of what it was like meeting with Harlan after the first game that he called?
Well, I wouldn't say that we were conservative. I don't know if I said that or not, but who knows what I say sometimes. Usually my wife tells me you said that.
Just to suggest that maybe that some of the pass defense maybe wasn't as aggressive, was designed maybe to protect players.
Yeah, I did say that. I think that you got to, the first game in, we're trying to protect certain players. Darian Hicks wasn't back full, because he had just started practicing on Monday. Those type of things. So we didn't play him very much. We're playing a redshirt freshman out there. First time Jermaine Edmondson had played a lot. So we were trying to protect those guys a little bit with calls, I think. And I don't know if the only statement I made was, I don't know if you can do that. You just got to let it go and call it. After the game, it's different. When you're calling the game, you're in. You're probably very tired at the end of the game, even more so because decision making under pressure, play in and play out. But I thought he did a great job. At the end of the day, you got to make the plays. At the end of the day, they hit a couple plays, but on broken plays we lost contain, or they found a guy in the seam where we didn't reroute the seam. But it's all married up that this is the reason why it didn't succeed. It wasn't like, well, got that one wrong. These are the reasons it didn't succeed for this player or that situation, or and it's like a puzzle. It all has to fit together.
Mark in the back again.
It's the longest press conference I've ever had. Keep coming, though.
I got time for two more.
There we go.
I was wondering when you were going to say that, John.
I almost said it for him. It seems like the first week of the college football season is in the books now, and it seems the outside world has a somewhat anoint somebody a champion or anoint somebody's no good. How do you keep those types of conversations from trickling into your locker room? And you guys have done such a good job over the past few years of making sure you peak towards the end of the season. But with a game like this, do you have to accelerate that progress at all?
No, yeah, I think that the way we talk around here, these are building steps. The most important thing is what we do in November, because that's going to lead to championships as long as we build. And so there's a premium put on how we think. And our players need to understand that this is the second game of the season. Last year, I think it was the second game of the season, as I remember, and we lost it. All of a sudden, we're 8-1. I think we were 8-1 playing Ohio State, and all the buzz was back. So the main focus is this is a step. Keep taking the correct steps as you move towards your end game. You get evaluated as a program at the end of the season. Preseason rankings really have to do with what happened last year. If you look at college football this last weekend, I would say there were some crazy things that happened out there. Crazy games, crazy situations. Everybody, maybe not playing as good as this, or this team's playing better than that, but a lot of different scenarios taking place. And I think the main focus that we have to have is take care of ourselves, just worry about the next step, continue to focus on the present, use this as building steps. Great opportunity, great experience, part of the experience of being here. Very exciting for our fans. Going to play hard. Going to do this. Going to do that. Could lead to things later on. But the main emphasis right now is don't get too far ahead of yourself. If win or lose in this game, it's not an end game. the end game start farther down the line. And I think that's our main focus.
Bigger the games, the longer the press conferences.
It would seem so.
You were fairly outspoken that L.J. Scott was most ready to play among your running backs in the second half the other night. Is it your desire that one of these guys takes the gauntlet and is that hot back most of the season, or are you comfortable with running 2 or even 3 most of the year?
I'm comfortable running guys that are productive. Inevitably, who gets hot in the game probably gets the more of the carries. For a freshman, really all 3 of these guys. There's a redshirt freshman, a true freshman, and then a guy who's a redshirt sophomore. So none of these guys really have had the opportunity to cut it loose and be themselves yet. And they got to feel confident and loose, so to the point where they are running like they can run. And we're going to see who that is. And we really have 4 because I know what one other one can do. So not afraid to play him either. But I think that where it's at right now is the running back situation is healthy, and it should be very, very good, and that's exciting. With that being said, Le'Veon Bell will be our honorary captain. Clinton Jones will certainly walk out there. He's the Ring of Honor. But Le'Veon was teammates with our guys in 2012, so he'll be up for the football game, and we'll have him talk to our football team and walk out. I think it'll really be fitting to have Clinton Jones and Le'Veon Bell walk out in that stadium possibly together, and that'll be exciting for all of us.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks.